How are you guys doing? My name is Babu and I'm a software development engineer from the city of Arusha, Tanzania. And in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to create an e-commerce app with Flutter, NodeJs, Apollo, Sequelize, and MySql as a database. And of course, the application that we're going to build is a replica of many online shopping applications such as Amazon, eBay, or AliExpress. And of course, this one is AliExpress, a Chinese based company that owns this is Alibaba. Of course, it is well known globally, as you know. This is how the app works. You can search for anything and then they are going to bring you a list of products in a grid view, and then you can click into a product, and then you go into the details page where they show the price, of course the description, and there are three buttons at the bottom where they say store, add to cart, and of course buy now. And we are going to integrate this application with Stripe, which is a payment gateway, which is very easy to integrate. And of course, I think you guys are going to enjoy a lot and learn from this series, as many of the Flutter developers focused mainly on Firebase, and I thought of doing something different because many of the developers have not touched anything in SQL-based database. So I thought it is about time now that I do create a series of videos to showcase you guys how you can develop a real good mobile application using SQL based databases. So welcome guys, and let us get started. As you can see, this is our working environment where we do have a folder opened and it is known as showb. So we're going to create another folder instead of it, and just type mkdir, which means make directory, and we are going to call the directory as ecom. So you just have to press enter, and then the file is going to be created. But for me, I have created one, so I won't be doing that. As you can see, there is already this one known as ecom, so this is total up to you. I'll have just to get inside the directory by typing cd ecom. So I am already inside of the folder, and I'm going to initialize the npm by typing npm init. You guys will have to press enter, but for me, I have already initialized the npm, so I won't be doing that. So if you type npm init and then hit enter, you're going to have a file known as package.json, which is this one. And what this one does is, this is like the heart of the Node application, because this is where the initialization of the app is going to start, because this is where we write the script to look for where we say in Flutter is like main.dat file, but in here it is app.js. So this is where you write the script to tell the application where to look for the file. And of course, this is where all your dependencies are going to reside. So just do what you have to do and you'll see what happens. So just type npm init, and then the package.json file is going to be created. And the package.log.json file won't be created yet, but because we have not downloaded anything up until now. So if we download some dependencies, then the package.log.json file is going to be created. Let us get started by downloading some dependencies. The first dependence that we're going to download is actually, I'm going to write npm install --save, and then the first dependency that we're going to download in here is actually Apollo server. And the other one is GraphQl, and then casual, and then MySql 2, NodeMon of course, and the last one is Sequelize. You just have to hit enter, and then the dependencies will be start to be downloaded one after the other. But for me, I have downloaded all of them, so I won't be doing that. After doing this, you'll have your packages in the package.json file, and of course the package lock.json will be created. So that is total up to you. And as I've told you before, we're going to use this package known as NodeMon, so that the server can auto restart whenever there is any change in the application. So we'll have to write in the script start and then say NodeMon and app.js, which will be more like a starting point of our application. So let us create a file and call it app.js. The app.js won't be doing much. It is just a starting point of the server. So we'll have to import we won't be importing anything as of now because we have not created our schema or our resolver, so for now it is going to be empty. So this is it for our app.js until we create our resolvers in, of course, GraphQL. So first of all, let us create our database. Let us create a folder here and name it DB database. Inside our database, we are going to import a package known as Sequelize. So and then I'm going to define our database, which is constant and of course inside of the database that we're going to define, we have to put three things. The first one is the name of the database, and of course the second one is the user name, and of course the last one is the password. So the name of our database that we have created, let us create by going into, I don't have my MySql shell running, but I'm going to switch it off and then just start all over again. I think I'll have to do something. I'll show you guys later how to do it because I cannot see it working. So the first thing that we're going to do is write the name of our database, which is, I have created one but I wanted to show you, but I think you'll have to do it on your own. Create your own database user and of course the password. It is not that hard, you can do it. So the name of the database I have created is actually ecom, and the user is actually root, and the password is also root. So of course we are going to define our dialect and host. So our dialect in here is actually MySql, and the host is localhost. So we're almost done with database. So we have to create a model so we can read and write, or we can do our queries and mutations on that model. So the first model that we're going to create in here is actually product model. So constant product model. So the product model is actually going to have an image URL, price, title, and description. So the first one is actually an image URL. The type is actually going to be Sequelize dot string. It is going to be a string type, and then the second one is price type Sequelize dot it is going to be a float, no string this time, and then title and the last one is actually description. So this is what our model is going to have. I know you guys are wondering if the model is not going to have an ID, but the ID is going to be created automatically once we create our schema. So this is what we have to do as of now. And of course, we'll have to use the package that we download earlier, and the package is also known as Casual. What Casual does is actually creating the table automatically for us. If we do not use Casual, then we'll have to go into MySql and create our table ourselves. But if we use Casual and start the server, then the table is going to be created automatically. So let us get started and use Casual. So we have created the the product model automatically. So it is going to create the table in MySql for us. So that is kind of what we have to do in here. So let us export the MySql constant. We're going to define our product so that we can use it anywhere within our Node server application. So we're going to define it as a product, which is equal to db dot models the product. Then module.export we're going to export it as a product. So this is it, and we have created our database and we have defined our product model, and of course we are going to use this casual to create our table automatically in the MySql database. So the other thing that you have to do is actually create our schema and resolver so that we can run our server and write some queries and mutations. So let us go in here and then create a folder and name it GraphQL. And inside of the folder we're going to have two files, which the first one is going to be schema.js, so inside our schema we're going to import, first of all we're going to import something known as GQL from Apollo server. So const we are going to create something known as type definitions, but we're going to call it type devs just to save some time. And what all this type definition does is simply just definitions of our data types. For example, we're going to have a product type, we're going to have a query type, and of course mutation type. So this is simply just defining the kind of data that are going to go in these fields. So let us get going. Of course, we're going to use backticks. If you guys are familiar with backticks, then this is what backticks is really good at. We're going to use backticks to create our data types. So the first data type that we're going to have in here is actually product data type, and it is going to have an ID, it is going to have a title, it is going to have price, image URL, and of course description. So type product. Inside of the product we're going to have an ID, which is a required string. No, not a required string, it is a required ID, because the GraphQL has their own data types which you are going to use, and of course the GraphQL data type are independent of Sequelize data types. So ID here have also data type known as ID, and of course it is a required field. And title is going to be a required string, and of course price, which is going to be a required string. and of course description, which is going to be a required string as others, image URL, which is also going to be a required string. So we are done with the product data type, and then let us move into queries. Instead of a query, we're going to have a query that is going to return a list of products. So and of course this one is going to carry the name of our table in our MySql database. And then we're going to have our mutation type, and in our mutation I'm going to have a create product as and then it is going to take in some image URL, which is a required string. Going to have a title, description, which is also required string, title, which is of course a required string, and of course price, also a required string. And of course it is going to return product, which is also required. So this is what we have to do in here, and I think we are done. So we'll have to export this one so we can use it wherever we want in our server. So module, so let us go forward and then create our reservoir. First of all, how to import the product that we created, the product model that we created in our database, so we can use in our reservoir. And then I'm going to define our reservoir. in our query, we're going to have a query that is going to return all the products available in our table, which is known as products. So we say product is pointing out into product.find all, means it is going to return everything. That is the idea. So we are done with our query. We're going to create our mutation type. Of course, in a mutation, we're going to have a method that we're going to call it create product. It is quite straightforward, so I think you guys will take no time to understand this one. So it is going to be asynchronous. And it is going to pass some few things, which is actual parent, and then args, which is arguments actually, then context and info. So we're going to define the product that we're going to save into a database. So const product is equal to new product, which we imported from our database. It is going to save some data, and of course the first one is image URL, which are going to get it from arguments. When I say arguments, I think you guys don't understand. Arguments is what we pass in as our arguments. For example, if we are using our Flutter application, then what we pass in our text form field, that is what we call an argument. I think you guys should understand this. Because it is args, I think I made a mistake in here. So we have passed all our arguments, and then since this one is asynchronous, we don't know how to use await. So we're going to say await product.save, which means save the product into the database, and then after that we're going to return the saved product. So this is it. We're going to export so we can use it. So let us go back into our app.js. Inside our app.js, we're going to import our schema and of course our reservoir. So from GraphQl and then schema. Yes. And the second one is actually reservoir. It is equal to require so if now we run our app, then we will have to see it. So since we are inside our working environment, then we will have to type npm start and wait for the server to start. I think I'm getting some errors, but it is not a big deal. Oh my god. In our db.models, you have to say models and not modes. So into our database, as you can see, this is models, not modes. Oh yeah, this is not, I think I'm starting to, so Apollo save, not Apollo error, it's actual Apollo save, Apollo saver. So wrong with this one. What does it say? So thank you guys. I think this one is going to take some time, so I'll have to fix it and then come back into the next tutorial so you guys can see where the problem is coming from, and then we'll go on creating our server, testing it, and then connecting to our Flutter app. So thank you guys, and see you into the next tutorial.